Picture this. It's Christmas Eve, 1945. You're tucked into bed, dreaming of Santa Claus and presents under the tree. You drift off to sleep in your cozy West Virginia home, surrounded by your siblings and parents. By morning, 5 of your siblings have vanished, leaving behind no trace except a pile of ashes and one of America's most haunting mysteries. As the family settled in for the night on December 24th, 1945, 9 of the 10 Sodder children were home. The eldest, Marion, was married and living elsewhere. The house was decorated for Christmas. Gifts waited under the tree, and the family had every reason to expect a joyful morning ahead. 9 of the 10 Sodder children went to bed on Christmas Eve. Their mother, Jenny, would be startled awake by her phone ringing. It rang 3 times. First at 12:30 a.m., she was...
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
First at 12:30 a.m., she was awoken by a phone call during which she could hear a man's voice and the sound of glasses clinking in the background. She then went back to bed, only to be startled by a loud bang and a rumbling on the roof. She soon dozed off again and finally awoke around 1 a.m. on Christmas morning to the smell of smoke. The house was on fire. The flames were already spreading rapidly through the structure. In the chaos that followed, George and Jenny managed to escape with 4 of their children, Sylvia, John, George Jr., and baby Jim.
So Santa set their house on fire?
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe.
You stole my line, man.
It's wild.
I feel...
They heard rumbling on the roof.
Yeah.
And then...
I heard sleigh bells. Oh, that was the phone ringing. Sorry.
I think...
Well, it sounded like sleigh bells when I did it.
I think it was
Did I
just
do
a
that?
failed exit. Like Santa tried to go back up the pipe or whatever.
Like, and he farted on the fire.
Yeah. But 5 children remained unaccounted for. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty. They had been sleeping in the upstairs bedrooms, and now those rooms were a blazing inferno. They immediately evacuated the home, but George soon realized that 5 of his children were not outside. Hoping to put the blaze out, George went to fill a bucket with water from a nearby barrel, but found it frozen solid.
I mean, what's one bucket going to do anyway?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess you're desperate at that point.
I got this.
It's really sad, but...
Yeah, I know.
Well, especially when it's an ice cube and you can't even throw it.
Right.
Man, you might as well throw a bucket of water on it, you know?
You might as well try. Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Bucket.
But if it's frozen solid,
Yeah.
get your pickaxe.
Yeah.
Oh, good point. Yeah, smart.
That's like throwing ice is going to do even less, but yeah.
But maybe as it, evaporates from the heat, makes its own little cloud,
Sure, that's grasping for straws.
Honestly, yeah, a bucket of ice.
I'll try anything if my kids are burning.
I agree.
so-
I agree. I'd just run right through.
Well,
the
what
flames,
I'm thinking is
honestly.
that you pound the bucket, pop, 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 and after that you chuck the ice through. That's what
Oh,
I'm
like
saying.
break up the ice.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
see
you
what
were
you're
actually
But
pounding.
I think he realized that was kind of
Okay.
stupid too. He's like, wait, this is just a bucket of ice. What the crap?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's not going to do much.
Mhm.
Maybe I'd probably do better spitting.
Well, maybe you should spit.
I would, if my children were in a fire, I'd pee. He'd also attempted to retrieve the rest of the solder, smashing a window and tearing the skin on his forearm to enter the burning home.
I thought you were gonna say tearing the skin on his foreskin. Oh, that would.
That's kind of inappropriate.
That would have been.
After all that, you're having a bleep contest, and mine was inappropriate.
The room was smoky, but George could see enough to know the only pathway to the children's room above was already on fire. He went back into the blazing fire, but could not reach the 2nd floor since the staircase was on fire. George Sodder was a practical man who kept a ladder leaning against his house for maintenance work. When he rushed to retrieve it to reach the upper windows and save his children, the ladder was gone, vanished, not blown over by the wind or knocked down, completely missing. He considered using his truck to reach the window, but neither would start.
There's foul play afoot.
Seems that way.
It does, doesn't it?
Seems like he did it.
I know, right? It's like, oh, I couldn't find it. 5, 10 children's expensive, so.
The phone line at their place was dead, so the couple's eldest daughter, Marion, went to a neighbor to call for help. The person tried calling the operator to patch them through to the town's chief firefighter, F.J. Morris, but it rang out. Imagine just getting voicemail from a firefighter. Hey, this is a fire. Your house is on fire. Maybe call me later. I'll probably try and start it. When a maintenance worker arrived at the house after the fire, it was discovered that the phone lines had been cut rather than burned out in the fire, as they initially assumed. Neighbors told police they had seen a shadowy man near the Sodder house on Christmas Eve, stealing a block and a chain from George's garage. The man was later tracked down and identified as Lonnie Johnson, a local. He pleaded guilty to theft and cutting the phone line, but denied any involvement with the fire. And it's
Because it was Santa.
Well, yeah, what I'm thinking is, was he there while the fire was there? Like, what would you do? Like, oh, I think I'll cut the phone line and make it a little more difficult. I didn't start the fire, though, you know?
Yeah, it's super sus.
In a town where the fire station was only 2 miles away, it took the firefighters an astonishing 7 hours to arrive. By then, the Sodder home had been reduced to a smoldering pile of ash and twisted metal. Steve Cruikshank, a firefighter in Fayetteville since 1967, later explained that the cause of the delay was due to a lack of resources, with many of the town's young men losing their lives in the war.
Everyone was a volunteer, and they didn't have much equipment.
The police inspector said that the cause of the fire was faulty wiring. George and Jenny wanted to know how that was possible, given that there had been no previous issues with the electricity. But George began to have doubts about that conclusion, remembering a local power company had recently inspected the wiring.
Oh, they got all their bases covered.
They do.
We got new wiring, see? See that, kid? See?
We got new wiring. That was more of a 40s voice, but I liked it anyways.
That's a good one.
Oh, well, your kids are all dead and died in the fire, but...
Sorry to see it, but we're here at the firehouse, and we'll be
This
there in
is-
about 7 hours.
This isn't a spoon, this isn't a spoon, this is not a fork, this is a spark right here. It can do both things.
I heard a guy in Kentucky was making some chicken and using that to eat it with.
When the fire chief and investigators sifted through the ruins, they made a discovery that should have brought relief, but instead launched a decades-long nightmare. There were no human remains in the ashes. None. Not a single bone fragment, tooth, or piece of clothing belonged to any of the 5 missing children. They wanted to know why this was the case. Chief Morris said that the blaze had cremated the bodies, but a crematorium worker told Jenny that bones remain even after bodies are burned at 2,000 degrees for 2 hours. The Sodder home burned to the ground in just 45 minutes. George Sodder also wasn't buying it. He knew that house fires, even devastating ones, don't typically burn hot enough to eradicate human remains. Professional crematoriums use temperatures of 1400 to 2100 Fahrenheit for hours to reduce bodies to ash, and even then, bone fragments usually survive. House fires rarely exceed 1000 Fahrenheit. There was also the strange disappearance of the ladder, which was usually propped against the Sodder's house, but couldn't be located on the night of the fire. It was later found discarded down an embankment 72 feet from the property.
How old were the kids that were supposedly dead?
I know you want to say.
They were younger.
They were
They were like from their 20s to all the way to like 9 or something, you know.
they were beaten and they left of their own accord.
Yeah, maybe. That could be the case.
That's my theory.
But there's also a lot of kids, though, too.
Oh, what's the ladder called?
It's called a ladder.
No, it's some kind of ladder.
Yep.
No, what's...
Firefighter ladder?
No, you know what I mean. It's in the Santa Claus movie. The ladder. There was a ladder missing because Santa was using it on the roof. It was Santa did it. I'm telling you.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely Santa.
Yeah,
The ladder was
but
missing.
the kids left down the ladder.
Yeah, it's
That's
about
my
time
theory.
to put him in a home.
Santa started the fire for sure, 100%.
Okay.
I'm just saying the kids took that opportunity and they were like, I'm out of this family.
Oh, and they crawled in Santa's bag and went to the North Pole.
Determined to find answers, George hired a private investigator, C.C. Tinsley.
C.C. Tinsley.
He heard that Fire Chief Morris told some folks that he had seen a heart at the scene and buried it in a dynamite box. The detective contacted Morris and convinced the chief to show it to him and George. Together they went to the site and dug it up. Tinsley took the organ to a funeral director, who determined that it was a chunk of beef liver. George also sent the liver to Washington for testing, and the document returned, confirming it was beef liver. However, the organ had never been in a fire, indicating that Morris had placed it there later.
This is a wild story.
I know, like why?
Rumors circulated that Morris had admitted to a few folks that he staged the organ in the rubble to pacify the Sodders and to get them to stop
said organ.
investigating. Evidently, the authorities wanted them to believe the children had perished in the fire. George even bulldozed the site himself, searching for any trace of his children. His excavation turned up some interesting items, household objects that had survived the fire, but no human remains whatsoever. Why are you kissing your Brother, what the heck? A 1949 follow-up search uncovered a tiny portion of human vertebrae. Researchers determined that the bones' ages were inconsistent with those of the Sodder children. Additionally, the bones showed no signs of charring and were most likely mixed in with the dirt George used to fill in the basement while constructing a memorial for his children. As George and Jenny dug deeper into the events surrounding the fire, they uncovered a series of disturbing incidents that suggested the tragedy might not have been accidental.
No way.
Yeah.
What was your first clue?
Who would have thought? In the months leading up to the fire, a few strange encounters took place. First, an unknown man approached George Sodder at his home, seeking work. After George told him he didn't need any workers, the man looked up at the fuse box outside and said,
This is going to cause a fire someday.
Also, just before Christmas, this older Sodder boy saw a suspicious car parked along Highway 21 for a few days in a row. A man inside the car was watching the Sodder children closely as they returned from school. My thought is that's just some pedophile.
Yeah, it happened.
That had no relation to the story.
Yeah, hang back
Those
then.
are some good-looking kids.
3 months following the Sodder disaster, Sylvia was playing around the rubble while the Sodders visited their former home. She found a hollow green object made of hard rubber. It had a twist cap.
That was Mommy's favorite toy.
Okay. All right.
Oh, don't all right me. You guys have said worse 5 minutes ago.
I was gonna make a joke similar, and I just thought not to.
Sylvia wondered if that could have been the object that hit the roof. George took the strange item to military officials. They told him it was an incendiary pineapple, more commonly known as a napalm bomb.
What?
Just weeks before the fire, a strange man had appeared at the Sodder home claiming to sell life insurance. He was butt naked.
No.
No.
Oh, you said that. Okay. I was like, what? That woke me up. That's what the coffee's not doing that.
When George declined the policies, the man became aggressive and made a menacing comment about George's house. He pointed to the fuse box and said George's house would go up in smoke and his
You're
children
gonna
would be
die. Oh,
He also mentioned that George's outspoken criticism of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini had made him enemies.
Okay, our jokes are
The
getting
encounter
weaker and
left
weaker.
George troubled, but he disregarded as the ramblings of an unstable salesman. After the fire, the man's words took on a much more ominous significance. Several days after the blaze, the coroner convened an inquest with a jury to determine the cause of the fire. Interestingly, one of the jury members was the man who told George that his children would be destroyed and his house would burn down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, one of the jurors. Maybe they just couldn't get enough people, and they were like, let's just get this guy.
This guy
in
got
here.
on the wrong side of Mussolini is what's happening here.
Not surprisingly, the jury also ruled that faulty wiring caused the fire. World War II had just ended on December 2nd, 1945. Only 8 months prior, communist partisans had killed fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, which left the Italians highly divided. Supporters of Mussolini were outraged. George was particularly politically outspoken and strongly opposed Mussolini. Consequently, he had engendered bitter distrust amongst those of his fellow Italian immigrants who had loved the Italian leader. This led to theories that the fire was orchestrated as revenge, with the children kidnapped and taken to Italy or placed with Italian-American families who had raised them under new identities. Supporters of this theory pointed to several suspicious elements. Excuse me.
Whoa,
That's
why
one
don't
of
you
them.
fart on camera?
Yeah,
Like the
all these
pedophile.
little coincidences, there's no chance. There's no chance.
While George pursued investigations and theories, Jenny Sodder maintained an even more heartbreaking vigil. She kept the missing children's bedrooms exactly as they had been on Christmas Eve 1945. Clothes remained in dresser drawers, toys sat on shelves, and beds stayed made, waiting for children who might never return.
Yeah.
Jenny wore black for the rest of her life, a living monument to her grief and her unshakable belief that her children were alive somewhere. She refused to hold funeral services, insisting
I
that
wouldn't either.
without bodies there was no proof of death. Every Christmas Eve became a renewed nightmare of hope and despair.
Yeah, I would never celebrate Christmas again.
No.
Not
And
even
I-
for my surviving children. I'd be like, sorry,
Yeah.
tough luck. I'll get you stuff.
Right.
But we're not
Especially if
decorating.
Santa was the one who did it. Like,
Yeah.
that would definitely...
Well, I know.
Yeah,
you have to.
the rest of my life would be plotting revenge on Santa.
Yeah. That reminds me of that one,
We should-
that one Sheriff Hopper movie.
Violent Night.
Violent
Night.
Yeah.
Ha! Pulled that one out of my head. Couldn't pull Harriet Tubman out of my head.
No, but I did.
That
context.
just makes no sense. Convinced
You know
that
you're
his
not that
children
tall.
were alive
It's like-
somewhere, George erected a billboard
He said
along Route
erected.
16 featuring photographs of the 5 missing children and offering a substantial reward for information. The haunting display became a landmark for decades, reminding every passing driver of the family's anguish and determination.
I don't care.
The
man.
billboard read missing. These 5 children have been missing since December 24th, 1945. If you have seen any of them or know anything about them, please contact the state police or the Sodder family. Below were the faces of 5 children who would never grow up, at least not in their family home. They offered $10,000 for any information and regularly updated the board with possible clues before it was taken down in 1989 after Ginny's death.
That's the year I was born.
Someone working in a motel about 50 miles outside Fayetteville claimed to have seen the children the day after the blaze. A woman working at a hotel in Charleston, one town over from Fayetteville, was reading a newspaper report about the Sodder fire one day when a photo of the children caught her eye. The haunting black and white clippings of their 5 solemn faces bore a striking resemblance to the 4 children she had seen at her workplace on Christmas Day. The children went... Okay, no, I did not cook, but...
I don't know what that was, like a retarded lunch lady? Can you say retarded?
You can and you can't.
Children...
Okay.
The children were accompanied by 2 women and 2 men,
Yeah.
all of Italian extraction. I do not remember the exact date. However, the entire party did register at the hotel and stayed in a large room with several beds. They registered about midnight. The unnamed woman said she tried to talk to the children, but the men appeared hostile and refused to allow me to talk to the kids.
That's
A
so
girl claimed
funny.
to have seen the children in a car that was driving away as the fire raged.
Well, kind
A private
weird.
detective who investigated this lead said they were definitely there but had since left. Apparently, 5 different people had seen them in Cortez. George was once convinced that his daughter, Betty, was one of the school children photographed in a magazine he was reading. He traveled all the way to her school in Manhattan in the hopes of speaking to her parents, but they refused to see him. That seems reasonable.
I would be fine.
They'd probably... I mean, first of all, if they're in on the conspiracy, they're not going to let you see the kid.
No, but I would see the kid anyways. If it was mine.
But if it was like... If it was just a kid, like, and you just think it's some pedophile. you'd
Yeah,
probably
I
be
wouldn't
like,
regardless of both. You're right. Both situations, it'd be like, I'm covering this up, so I'm not going to let you see this kid.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to let you see this kid because why would I let an adult see this kid?
All right, but here's the thing, okay? If you saw a picture of your kid, you would know 100% if that was your kid or not. If it was a clear picture, would you not?
I guess so. Yeah.
Because I mean, like, look at that. What's he doing on that one guy? He's trying to be somebody else on memes.
What the heck?
You know that's
Matt Taylor?
Oh.
but
Talking
you
about
know
Kevin James.
Kevin James.
Kevin
he's
James.
going
You
as
know
a-
it's Kevin James.
Well, Kevin James and Matt Taylor are 2 completely different people. Let's get that straight,
Yeah.
first of all.
Obviously, 2 different people. The TikTok
They look
account-
entirely different. I don't even know why people think they look similar.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Gabba! Other potential leads took them all over the country, from Mexico to Florida, Tennessee to New York.
Right before my grandfather died, my dad took him to Texas to follow up on a lead.
George and Jenny's granddaughter, Jenny Henthorne, told a journalist.
That was
He was
good.
very sick, and my dad drove him the whole way to Texas. He was so disappointed that it didn't pan out that they literally turned around and drove back.
That was really good. I liked that a lot. Genuinely, I'm not just saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sound like a baby.
It was a girl. It was a little girl.
Louis Sodder was just 9 years old when he was last seen alive.
Is this a
Then,
book?
22 years after his disappearance, his mother, Jenny, received a letter from Central City, Kentucky, with no return address. The letter also came with a picture believed to be of Louis. A message on the back of the photo read, Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. A little boys. A90132 or 35.
I think
Wait,
he
it
threw
actually
that
said
in.
all that?
Yeah, it said that.
No, it
That-
didn't
I
say-
checked multiple times. That wasn't a typo.
What, little
But-
boys? Really? No.
ILIL boys.
Yep.
I-L?
A little
I-L?
boys. Maybe he had like
I
a
little.
seizure as he was writing that.
I love little
He
boys.
fell on the keyboard.
I love little
Maybe his
boys.
cat-
Little.
Maybe he said, I love brother Frankie, and then his cat went on the keyboard and went...
Put the kitty in the
Typewriter,
middle.
I mean, yeah,
He said, hey, diddle diddle, put the
I'm
kitty
pretty
in
sure
the
they had
middle. And
computers at this time.
what is
Oh,
it? How
did
does
they?
that go? Said, hey, diddle diddle, put the kitty in the middle, and we're dancing to another tune, or something like that. I don't know. You know that song? It's like Aerosmith.
This whole podcast, you've been having like schizophrenic rants over there in the corner.
Yeah, but it's some good stuff, man. I'm just thinking.
You definitely.
You're gonna hear stuff in this that we didn't even hear him say.
George and Jenny hired a private detective to investigate the photo and identify the sender. Unfortunately, the detective was at another dead end. This is the photo that she got, which was supposed to be her kid growing up.
This guy does look like that kid a little bit.
Yeah.
Enough to where I'd be like, that could be him grown up.
Yeah, I would take
Yeah.
it. But if it was my kid, I think I would know. I just think I would know.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, no.
If you haven't seen him for 15 years, though.
So it's your kid, man. It's your flesh and blood.
But there's no way you
flesh
could.
of my flesh, bone of my bone, bone. I don't know where I'm going with
I
that
don't
one,
think.
but
Yeah.
I'm
That
on
was
the same
Adam.
channel Jared
That
from
was
Subway
Adam
was
to
on.
Eve.
Right.
Yeah,
What?
That wasn't Adam to his son. That was Adam to Eve.
yeah.
This
I
is
know,
flesh
but
of my
I
flesh,
mean,
blood
it's-
of my blood.
I mean, it's.
But they never said bone of my bone, and that was the Jared.
Right.
Bone
But at
of
least
my
I didn't say
bone.
like boner of my boner,
But it's implied.
We didn't want
It
to
is
go
implied.
there. This is a family-friendly podcast. What
Oh,
the
you
heck,
can
dude?
cut that
I
out.
bet it is.
While odd clues
Well.
and possible leads were uncovered over the years, there was never any conclusive evidence that the children had escaped the fire and were still alive. The Sodders were told their search was hopeless, and the case was closed in 1950. The disappearance of the Sodder children has remained unsolved for decades. Yet despite this case becoming so high profile, the FBI has never been involved. In 1947,
That's weird,
George and
too.
Jenny appealed directly to J. Edgar Hoover, hoping he would help.
What kind of pull do these people have? Talk about Mussolini and
I know, right?
President of the United States, right?
That wasn't-
J. Edgar Hoover. I don't know if he was.
It's like, hey,
Oh wait,
hey,
yeah.
hey, Jay.
No, that was just some FBI guy. The guy who was the president was Herbert Hoover,
Oh, that's
okay.
right. Yeah.
named after the vacuum. They received the following personal letter from Hoover, who wrote,
Although I would like to be of service, the matter related appears to be of local character and does not come within the investigative jurisdiction of this bureau.
That was.
"Do the roar."
Get her!
I love you, Daddy.
Their FBI agents said they were willing to help the family once they received permission from local authorities. Still, for some reason, both the Fayetteville police and fire departments refused to grant the go-ahead. It was another devastating blow for the Sodder family. The home that perished in the fire was never rebuilt. Instead, they turned the plot into a memorial garden and tended to the flowers every day. George died in 1969, and Jenny died in 1989. The only surviving member of the family was Sylvia, the youngest of the Sodder children, who was only 2 years old on the night of the fire. She died at 79 in 2021. In the end, they had spent $15,000, more than $200,000 today,
Oh, man.
on a slew of private investigators and travel expenses across the country during their search.
I mean, I would too if I was looking for my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
spent
mean-
literally every dime I had.
Yeah, I would too.
Every nickel. Sorry,
Yeah.
you can't go down to pennies anymore. They don't make those.
Oh, that's right. They just stopped. They're done now.
Yeah, they're done.
I'd give
They
it the
wanted
old.
it to be done for years.
I know.
If my kids went missing, I'd give it the old college try.
Oh, and then be like, yeah, I guess I have more free time now.
My kids go missing every day, though, every night. So,
All right.
Oh man, come on now.
do you think that this was a conspiracy or no?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, no. I think it's a conspiracy for sure, but it's a true one
Yeah.
because there was so much cover up, obviously.
It was weird.
Or you wrote it in a way that made me feel like it was covered up.
Yeah.
Maybe you're creating these conspiracies.
Yeah.
What really
Yeah.
is interesting is George died in '69.
Yeah.
So you're probably the reincarnation of George, and
Right.
Jenny died in '89. So we're married in another life.
Yeah, that's
That's a
true.
good point. Yeah.
And that's why you're close now.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You
I don't
still
wanna
make out
touch
for
it,
some
but-
reason.
Yeah.
If you guys like this story, subscribe, like,
Yeah.
comment.
Even if you don't like it, do that.
Share it to other people that'll hate it, so we get more views.